Does metagaming ruin the player experience or does it make it? Let's talk about that. Today we're reacting to a video by Accolonn titled Meta Destroys Games. World of Warcraft Needs Off-Meta Gameplay. While his video is focused on World of Warcraft, I believe that the topic is applicable to essentially all of gaming and is something worth talking about. So I haven't watched this video yet. Let's get right into it and see what he has to say and see where our minds kind of agree or conflict.
Meta is what kills gaming. And I think in many ways that's what's killing World of Warcraft is meta gameplay. It's this idea that there is only one way to play and this is the only right way to play. But
okay, pause champ, right off the bat. So I totally agree. The problem there is that when you know that there is only one way to play the game, that is when you start to feel, suffocated. Since a video game is essentially just a collection of systems that you interact with to either receive some sort of reward or some sort of punishment, there's always going to be a sort of mathematical, best trajectory through the game, a best course of interactions with those systems. And usually there's only one, or one with some subtle variations to it. Let's hear where he goes on with this.
But even if you decide not to play the right way, you're not really playing any different than what you would have played if you played the right way. You're still playing exactly the same as everyone else. You're just now doing less DPS than everyone else.
I see what he's saying in that, let's say you're playing a warrior, but you're not playing the optimal spec. You're playing a different spec. You're not playing the meta, but you're still essentially doing the same things. You're killing the quests, you're doing the dungeons, you're playing the same game. You're just not performing as well. And the problem there is in the fact that everybody knows it. If you weren't aware that there was a better method, then it wouldn't be an issue, right?
That's my biggest issue when it comes to modern day World of Warcraft. I am not suggesting that you're never going to get meta. Meta will always exist.
Again, absolutely. The meta is always going to be there as long as the game has objective rewards or, some sort of objectively rewarding systems where you interact with the system in a specific way and it either rewards you or punishes you. As long as that is how the game operates, the meta will always exist. Now, there are some exceptions. The original version of Minecraft could be seen as one of those exceptions where you essentially just had a sandbox for building things. And even then, you could make the argument that there are metas about, lighting up your base or various things. But my point is that the game didn't give you a specific goal that you needed to reach. To make it for current Minecraft, you have creative mode. And in that, there is no meta. I mean, you could make the argument that building one way is better than building another, but that's a subjective argument. And that's where you get into the world of subjective rewards in gaming. Subjective rewards are what allow you to deviate from the clearly defined meta without feeling like you're doing yourself wrong. For instance, in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, you have glamour/transmog systems, which are subjectively rewarding systems. There's all sorts of, glamours and transmogs that you can get from all sorts of, ways of playing the game. And it's all down to your taste in what you enjoy. So when you engage in a system like a glamour system, you're stepping outside of that linear path to the objective reward, which is where the meta is king. I believe I've, gone off on a bit of a tangent from what he was saying, but the last thing he said was that you're always going to have the meta in gaming. Let's get back to it.
But it depends on what is the focus of the developers.
Right.
Are the developers focused on the meta gameplay or are they focused on off-meta gameplay? In other words, allowing people the freedom to choose to play in ways that isn't necessarily helpful. But why can't people just have fun?
This is a fundamental question, which I think the answer lies within the players themselves more than it does the developers. Obviously, the developers are making the game. They decide what systems to put into the game. But it's the fact that a player does not want to feel like they're selling themselves short. Now, does that mean that nobody can enjoy doing things that are off meta? Of course not. And I'm not insinuating that that's what Accolonn's saying. But by virtue of the fact that the average player will feel disincentivized to do those things that are off meta, the developers are going to be disincentivized to continue developing that sort of system, especially when you have completely interaction focused or engagement focused gameplay system. So when something isn't squeezing as much time out of a player as something else, then the devs are inevitably going to, lean away from that. Is that the reason why we don't see more systems like that entirely? I don't necessarily think so, but this is definitely one of those sort of conversations that's sort of a big cloud of sort of, points of interest, points of importance that all sort of connect to each other in various ways. So, and I don't think any of us actually have an absolute answer for, but this is the sort of thought process that I have as to why we don't see, more of that sort of content in games like World of Warcraft.
As far as I'm concerned, Blizzard takes itself too seriously. That's genuinely, I think, my biggest gripe at the moment. Is it feels like Blizzard wants to be this very serious game. Like this game where, this is the right way to play, and we're going to balance everything to make sure that everything is the right way. And it's like, you do realize this is a game, right? Sometimes broken things are okay. Sometimes It's okay to play a warrior with a staff, right?
Absolutely.
Why not? Why not? Just go fucking have fun. Doesn't matter, right? It's not the best. It doesn't have to be the best. Just have fun.
Right.
Because it's a game at the end of the day. Why can't I be a mage that has a shield and a sword, and I'm sort of tanking with my frost bubble? I'm not the best tank. I do get killed quite often, but I'm still doing it because fuck it. It's fun. I kind of enjoy it.
Absolutely wish we had this more in modern World of Warcraft. Honestly, I think that this is moving away from the topic of, just metagaming as a whole, but it is still definitely related. He's saying that this is sort of a product of Blizzard taking themselves too seriously, and I could agree with that. I don't know if it's taking themselves too seriously, or it's just having too absolute of an idea of what the game is supposed to be and not allowing the game enough room to actually breathe. But I don't think that is because of metagaming. Metagaming in and of itself is a problem, it is a player-centric problem. Now, developers, by virtue of the fact that they're making the game, they have to develop the game with the metagaming mentality in mind, because when they make a system, they have to be aware of essentially what is the best way to use that system so that they don't just make these totally lopsided, totally unbalanced things. So I'm not saying that developers don't have any part in creating the metagame. They do literally create what is the metagame, but metagaming in and of itself is a burden of human psychology and math put together. So the problem is that when the players become aware of these most effective tactics available, their psychology drives them to interact with the game systems on a fundamentally different way than they would if they did not already know those best practices. Thing is, with the presence of the internet and how readily available information is, once somebody figures that out, they put it on the internet. Now everybody knows it, and everybody's incentivized to play the game in that way. But what Accolonn's talking about here, such as, Blizzard kind of cinching down on just the way World of Warcraft is played in general, such as the way that classes are structured and all of those things. While I believe it is obviously related to the metagaming, I see it as more a problem of their development and their, absolute vision of what the game is supposed to be, rather than the actual issue of metagaming. But let's see how he ties it in.
Let me give you guys an example. There is a class in Final Fantasy. It's called the Blue Mage. The Blue Mage is completely and utterly fucking broken. The abilities that the Blue Mage have is boss abilities. Like literally, they've copied boss abilities and just gave it to the Blue Mage.
What?
Blue Mages can't really party up with any other classes to do raids. They can't really finish the main storyline. They exist and they were built purely for fun. Like, you're allowed to go with other Blue Mages, right? And go do dungeons. Go do a dungeon with a bunch of other Blue Mages. Blow shit up, have fun. but you can't actually play the game. The class was literally not designed to play the game.
That's pretty cool.
Just for fun. Why does these things not exist in? Why can't you have things that's completely and utterly fucking broken? It shouldn't even make sense. But it's there because it's fun. It's a game. Who gives?
Again, I don't think that this is actually a metagaming issue. I think that this is a Blizzard and just a pure development issue in general, in that Blizzard has that absolute vision for what they want their game to be. My assumption would be that they just want to funnel everybody through their systems, period. They want you to just follow the straight and narrow and engage with each of the core systems of the patch or the expansion to drive their metrics and to allow them to get better funding or whatever. And obviously I can't say this with authority, as in I know that that's what the devs are doing, but that's how it feels. And once again, I don't believe that is an issue of metagaming in and of itself.
It feels like with World of Warcraft, everything is constantly so serious, right? It's so serious when it comes to World of Warcraft, and they're constantly trying to sort of balance the game as if this is a massive esports and there's money on the line.
It seems like it's because their whole focus is making the game esports friendly and just, providing this very tight little tailored package for you to just experience the way that they want you to. And they have no interest in making it a sandbox game. And the funny thing is, look at when World of Warcraft was at its absolute peak, is when it still had those very sandbox systems where you felt like you could go into World of Warcraft, make a character, and then create your story. You could be somebody unique. You could do your own thing. And it, of course the meta has always been there, but it seems to me like as they have focused more and more on turning it into an esport and turning it into this neat little package with this very defined path of how to play it, that is when the game has lost its most players. That is, has been the era in which World of Warcraft has been steadily declining.
I don't know why Blizzard keeps doing this. I don't know why Blizzard keeps doubling down on this incessant, almost unhealthy drive to be this serious game. Look at the graphics of WoW. Nothing about World of Warcraft screams seriousness.
Right.
The running animations are laughable at best. Have you seen?
The running animations are terrible. They're so bad. I rolled an orc and I literally couldn't play it because after just watching it run for 5 minutes, it just totally killed it for me. Totally off the point, but
an orc run, it's funny.
He said it. Okay, I'm so glad he said it because I literally haven't watched this. The orc running animation is so bad. It's so bad.
I laugh when I watch my orc run. It's hilarious to me. The way they jump, the way they stand, the stuff they do, the jokes. The game.
Somehow, though, the original orc animations were better. Now, anyway, we got to get back on topic, though.
It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be out there. It's fantasy. But where's the fantasy elements? When it comes to design, everything has to be serious. Everything has to be fucking taken into account, and everything has to be connected. It's bro, doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. Seriously, just calm down. I don't know. How many of you are very upset with the fact that this is what I want from the game?
I absolutely agree with everything Accolonn said. If you guys haven't watched him before, he's got a great channel, does tons of World of Warcraft content. Go check him out. Some sort of closing thoughts. The reality is that what makes the game fun is very subjective. However, Blizzard and a lot of other developers spend all their time on looking at the objective qualities of their game. And I've really been hammering this point about systems with objective rewards. As long as that is the predominant content in any game, a meta will always emerge. I think that Accolonn's point was that Blizzard should stop focusing solely on that straight and narrow, clear defined path and bring back in some of the just flavor. I could only assume that a big part of why developers don't spend as much time developing subjectively rewarding systems rather than objectively rewarding systems is essentially because of fear of failure. And that is because a system with an objective reward is objectively rewarding. So therefore, you could make the assumption as a developer that you will essentially provide the most amount of enjoyment to the most amount of people by creating a system that you know will always provide every individual with the reward that it promises them. So, this isn't inherently a bad thing. Video games need reward systems. I should be careful with my words. Maybe not all video games need a reward system. For instance, there's an excellent game called Skater XL. It's a skateboarding simulation game. But the beautiful thing about the game is that there are no rules, no reward systems. The only real rule set in the game is the implementation of physics. So when you enter into the game, there is no objective other than just whatever you decide. Maybe you're going to do the biggest, combo that you could do or something. But even that, isn't like a tracked metric. They have presented the game as almost like an instrument that you can pick up and play, and there is no defined objective. There's only subjective reward to be derived from the game. And now with a game like Skater XL, it's not massively commercially successful. It has done relatively well, but it hasn't reached the height of, say, something like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series, which had a very clear defined objective reward system. You get X amount of points in a match and you get Y reward. As simple as that. And so what can we expect from a developer when we see these trends? Now, the takeaway from this video may feel a little unfulfilling. Coming into this video, I knew that I was not going to be able to provide a solution, but I just want to start a conversation about how we as players interact with the games that we consume, that we participate in. Because we are the driving force of what games get made and how games get developed. Obviously, companies are driven by money, and they need their games to be commercially successful to be able to keep making more games. To end the video off, while I don't have an actual solution to offer, I do have some points of consideration. Your gaming experience is ultimately up to you. And I know that probably sounds cheesy, but I would encourage you as a player and myself as a player to approach games with an open mind and a willingness to experiment outside of the boundaries, and in fact, a willingness to break the boundaries when possible. And I don't mean hacking or exploiting. I mean making a conscious effort to engage with the games that you play in ways that promote creativity and that allow ourselves to derive our own sense of reward from. Some of the most fun can be had when you're willing to experiment, try different things. Don't just do what you're expected to do. So, like I said, is metagaming killing games? Well, not exactly, but it contributes to games becoming stale. It contributes to people becoming bored. It contributes to people feeling incredibly limited. Maybe there's a class archetype that they really like playing, but for instance, in a game like World of Warcraft, it might not be meta, so if you want to play it, well, sucks to be you. When the reality of it is that likely it doesn't make that big of a difference. And that is where I see it largely as a player psychology problem first and foremost. Chances are pretty high that you could make it through the majority of the game's content, if not all of it, without being within the meta. You could play suboptimally the whole way and clear everything. And I don't just mean looking for a raid. I know that somebody's probably shouting at me, no, if your character's not, if you don't do everything perfect and you're perfectly spec'd, you just can't ever achieve this ultimate level of accomplishment. Okay, cool. All right. I guess if that's how you want to play the game, but with a more realistic, level-headed, mindset about it, is that you can probably experience 99.9% of what the game has to offer without being meta. And chances are you might even enjoy it more along the way. And if you're a developer, I would like to encourage you to think long and hard about how you can create a sense of fulfillment in your game without simply relying on objective rewards. I'm not saying that you should try to create a game that doesn't have a meta, because the reality is that that may actually be impossible, given the limitations of technology and, our mindsets at this point in time. But together as a whole, we can all come together to create meaningful and fulfilling experiences that aren't just the predefined motions which we often get in modern gaming. So I hope you've enjoyed this video with all of its tangents and offshoots. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you think that Accolonn nailed it? Do you think he missed the point? Do you have your own solution to metagaming? Let me know. Share it with us. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, like the video. There'll be links to Accolonn's video down in the description. Until next time.